7 million men in America aged 25 to 54 dropping out of the labor force. And you've talked about why that's the case. Number one, it's just a problem, period. But number two, it looks like it's linked to handouts, keeping them on the sidelines. Talk about what you're seeing here.
Look, reasonable people can disagree over why it's happening, but you can't disagree with the fact that it's never happened before,
right.
Not in peacetime. So 7.2 million able-bodied men between 25 and 54. The story isn't that they're not working. The story is that they're affirmatively not looking for work. They're out. Right. So the question becomes, well, what does that mean for the economy overall? And because I'm not an economist, I can't tell you. But I can say that our national identity is defined by a lot of different things. And our willingness to work and our enthusiasm for work is tied up in that, both macro and micro. You know, it means it's a really important part of an individual's identity and an even more critical part of our national ethos.
Is it not actively looking for work, or is it when we are working, we're also less productive? How are you thinking about some of the productivities and the willingness to engage in the labor market?
Look, I think that if you have a choice and you choose not to work and you are able to take care of yourself as a result, well, it's none of my business, right? Yeah. I mean, that's freedom, and no one has a gun to your head. If we are enabling, on the other hand, a choice, if we've got our thumb on the scale and we're allowing a thing to happen that we really don't want to happen, well, then, yeah, you might want to be a little more introspective about cause and effect and so forth and so on. I'm just mindful of the fact that you guys were talking about it earlier, this weird, inflation versus prices, and you have to look at two things at the same time. Well, we have to look at like 10 things at the same time, right? We can't just look at the unemployment rate and have a parade because it's low. We have to look at the fact that the workforce participation rate is off the charts, crazy bad, right? And so, I said it earlier this morning on Fox and Friends. It's like the economy's an elephant, and if you hang on to the tusk and only talk about the ivory in it, then you kind of miss the trunk and the tail and the legs and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Really important stuff.
7.2 million people affirmatively checking out.
Wow.
It matters.
Substantial. Yeah. And it's funny because this is the government not letting individuals fail. And I think back to the financial crisis when we were talking about the banks being too big to fail, right? And people were outraged at the notion that there would be some sort of a bailout, by the way, that the banks ended up paying back with interest. But there was outrage about it. And there's no outrage about this. And you read about what these people are doing when they're at home. They're watching TV and they're playing video games, Mike.
That's the disturbing thing, and Nick Eberstadt dives into this deeply. Lots and lots and lots of research, and you're right. The average person we're describing in this cohort spends over 2,000 hours a year on a screen, right? So that's different too. And then you can talk about substances, and you can talk about all kinds of other harmful behavior that's going on. But don't forget about the politics of it either. Part of the reason we don't talk about this is when you say, okay, 7.2 million able-bodied men are out, what's it mean? I can tell you right away. My buddies on the right are going to tell me that means those people are lazy and entitled. Hell with it. My buddies on the left are going to say, who can blame them? Look how greedy and rapacious the employers are. And so you immediately get trapped in this binary conversation about, are they lazy or are they wise and prudent and living their best life?
So let's cut through that binary and talk at a practical level. I got a son. I got a 9-year-old son. What messages do young men? Now he's a very young man.
Yeah, so get him out there working.
But you think about the messages that they haven't heard for a long time and the messages they need to hear. How do you counsel a dad like me with a boy who you want to grow up to be productive and in the labor force?
Yeah, I get it. Look, it's hard, right? You're talking about PR. You're talking about stigmas, stereotypes, myths, and misperceptions that surround our current definition of what a good job is. And that's lopsided right now. Dirty Jobs has been on the air 20 years. How America Works is on the air right now, right? And so these shows matter to me mostly because optically they give your kid a look
Right.
at hundreds of careers that typically don't get a lot of love and a lot of glamour. Now, we've got plenty of other shows that do the same thing for more aspirational type jobs. But look, I run a foundation called MicroWorks. We award work ethic scholarships. I would get your kid in front of opportunities like that, not to steer him, but just to make sure that all the options are on the table. Final point. When we took shop class out of high school, we really screwed the pooch.
Yeah.
Right? Because, again,
Teaching
all
people
those
trades.
visuals are gone.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, it doesn't mean everybody has to take shop, but at least there was a time where a kid could look around and see, okay, look at what's available, no more.
When I remember being a young man in high school, and that option just wasn't praised. You know, the kids who were going to go to college, they got the awards program, they got the scholarships. The kids who wanted to go that route was like, well, we're glad there's a second best for you. And to me, that just seems like so bad.
It's a vocational consolation prize.
Yeah, right.
And it's BS because look, MicroWorks has helped train 1,500 people. I can introduce you to countless welders who are making 6 figures a year, no college debt. We need to tell their stories. Yeah. Invite me back. I'll bring a few on.
Electricians, plumbers, not to mention the fact that it encourages entrepreneurship. You can go into those fields, start your own business, and that's living the American dream, right?
Huge.
Yeah.